Yesterday, I made a little video about kind of what I do when I'm doing distance sessions for a day. And when I had sort of finished describing like the scene of what this actually looks like, I said, and then I waved my hands around like a crazy person by myself for 7 hours. And I got a few comments from people going, yeah, when we said we want to know what distance sessions look like, we wanted something a little more specific than, and then I waved my hands around. So, okay, obviously I was being a little bit facetious when I was describing that. So let's jump in and actually talk about what a distance session looks like. Not what it looks like from the outside, but what am I actually doing when I'm doing distance work with people? And if you can hear all of this background cicada noise, it's because I am literally in the jungle. It is a pro and a con of working in Costa Rica. So let's jump in. When I do a distance session with someone, sometimes people are afraid of the idea of distance work or something like that because they think that it means that someone's checking in on them all the time or trying to read their mind or something like that. It's nothing like that. We are scheduling a session. So the session happens at an agreed upon time, just like any other session would. Usually at the beginning of that session, we're going to make some kind of contact. So that could be a video chat or it could be a phone call or whatever. And in that conversation, we're going to just kind of check in. You're going to tell me a little bit about what it is you're wanting to work on today. I'm making notes exactly the same as if you had come into my office. If this is our first time working together, I'm going to make it be a video chat so that I can very clearly, when I'm working with you, visualize what you look like, what you sound like, how you talk, because those things are important when I'm trying to kind of dial into your energy later. So we make this contact, and then usually at that point, I hang up the phone. Sometimes people want to stay in contact through the session, and if that's someone's preference, that's okay too. We can either stay on the phone or we can stay in like a video chat like this. But usually I hang up. So then when I'm actually working, I kind of sit here and visualize you here on the table with me, just as if you were actually in my office for a session. The kind of kinesiology work that I do, we do a lot of touching acupoints or looking at specific muscles. I might be doing some moding. And so what I'm doing is touching where those points would be if you were here on the table. So that's what I meant when I said waving my hands around like a crazy person. To a casual observer looking in, I'm making notes. I've got my eyes closed probably. I'm touching these different points. I'm using my hand modes. I'm sure it looks absolutely insane. However, it works. So I go through and find all of the stress exactly the same way that I do when somebody's on the table with me. And then we do downloads where we are allowing the body to start getting rid of some of that stress while bringing in whatever frequency of healing energy you need to balance yourself out. I do exactly the same thing when it's time to do corrections, even if the correction that I'm doing for somebody is very structural or very physical. So you might see me doing something like moving something, adjusting something slightly, challenging a muscle, doing something to kind of stimulate a muscle group, a fascia or something of that sort, even though there's not somebody physically here. This is difficult for people to get their heads around sometimes, but you can think of it very much like working with a phone, right? So we all have a device like this, sitting next to us probably, or maybe you're watching me on this right now. And we all know that if we have somebody's number, we can call them. And we take for granted that, if I've got your number, I can hit the button and I can see you, talk to you. I can see how you're doing automatically, right? Same kind of deal, energetically. If I've got your number, as in you've given me permission to work with you and we've made this appointment together, then I can call you and I can kind of tap into that energy. When I'm doing the session, I'm using myself as a surrogate for the muscle test. So if you were here in the office with me, I might be actually challenging your muscles because you're not here. I'm doing it on myself. That being said, some people, some practitioners do this in different ways. So the way that I'm talking about is not the only way of doing this. Some people will bring in an actual surrogate, for instance. So they might have a friend or a family member or a coworker come into the office with them and agree to surrogate for the person that's receiving the session, and they'll actually challenge the muscle on that individual. Some also like to be able to visualize somebody here on the table more clearly. So what they'll do is they'll use a doll or an acupuncture model or something like that to kind of symbolize, oh, we're hitting these points. Or they'll touch the points on themselves. For me, what seems to be the cleanest for my own energy is to visualize you as you are on the table, not get my own body system involved in it too much. And that's what works for me. So, does this actually work? I think it does. Probably 3/4 of my sessions these days are happening in this kind of distance format. This allows me to work with people all over the world. I had some doubts about it when I first started, but I was seeing such consistent results with people who wanted me to try that now I'm an absolute believer. If this is something that you would like to learn more about, feel free to reach out. If this is something you would like to learn how to do, we do offer training programs for people who want to do muscle response testing. We do very basic, like entry-level programs like Touch for Health or our new GEMS Kit program, which help people who have never done any muscle testing work before. And we also teach much more advanced programs for people who have been doing this a long time, but are looking to have some new tools, new ideas to incorporate into their work. So if any of these things are interesting to you, you can reach out. You can look for the website, it's gemskinesiologycollege.com.